You are now listening to Changing Lives, a podcast presented by Mount Gilead Full Gospel International Ministries, hosted by co-pastor Elena Robertson.
Hello and welcome to Changing Lives. You've just tuned in to the best place to change your life with, because we change lives with the Word of God. I'm so glad that you tuned in, and we have a very special episode this go around, and it's because I have a very special guest with me, and we're going to be sharing about a book she wrote, and this is none other than Dr. Pamela Downing, and we're excited to have her here, and she's a dynamic woman of God, actually one of my spiritual daughters in ministry under Bishop and myself, and she is just a go-getter and just a woman of faith. And she's written a book that we want to make sure you get some nuggets out of and also get a hold of that. And so we're going to be sharing today about throwing away the excuses and succeed. Let me tell you a little bit about this author. Okay. Mm-hmm. She is dynamic. She is the CEO of PJD Enterprise, LLC. She's an international speaker. She's a consultant, a veteran, and a crisis and transformational coach to people all around the world. She motivates others to reach beyond their circumstances to achieve a more rewarding life. And we all need that, a more rewarding life. She conducts transformational seminars, financial seminars, mentoring and coaching sessions, workshops, and conferences. She is a Ramsey Solution Master Financial Coach and graduated from Dave Ramsey's Financial Coach Master Class. And Dr. Pamela's life vision is to help others throw away the excuses and succeed. So we are excited to have Dr. Pamela Downing with us. Dr. Pamela, welcome to Changing Lives.
Thank you so much, co-pastor. What an honor to be here with you.
We're so glad that you're with us. And you blessed me because last year during the pandemic, you actually wrote another book, and she's got some other books too. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the podcast. But right after that book, I believe you wrote this book, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what a fitting book. Of course, you can tell by the title, Throw Away the Excuses and Succeed.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, what do you do with that? And so as I went through her book, there was so many good nuggets that all of us can draw from. And so we're going to pick her brain without giving away all that's in her book, but just enough just to whet your appetite, just so you can realize this is a resource you really need to get a hold of. So, and as I started out, the introduction was real good because it showed a pivotal point in your life where you're like, okay, I got to get moving. I got to make some things happen. And one of your quotes from your book is, I got fed up with the word pursuing and decided to focus on the word manifestation.
Yes, ma'am.
And manifestation or manifesting. And so that's powerful because pursue in and of itself is a very strong word, but you took it a step further and you decided that you were going to use that as your mantra for life.
Yes, ma'am.
And certainly as, I went through your book and I can remember different opportunities that I've had to share or to know of those experiences or to see you manifest in those areas.
Yes, ma'am.
It was just a blessing. I'm so glad that you recognize how pivotal this mindset is.
Yes, ma'am.
And so just tell me a little bit about that transformation from pursuing to manifesting. How did you get to that point?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so like the book said, I was in pursuit of my doctoral degree. And you have your bios and you're like, she's pursuing this, pursuing that, right? Yeah. And so it hit me, stop it. When are you going to start manifesting? Okay, it's cute. Yeah, I'm pursuing this, pursuing that.
Right.
But where is the results?
Yeah.
And so I really shut myself in for about a week I told my family, they were upset, but I told my family, I'm not going, on this particular vacation with them. And I just had a me time with God. And as a result of that, everything just shifted.
Right.
But I had to make that decision to say, I'm fed up, no more.
That's powerful, because that's like a come to Jesus meeting with yourself.
Yes.
How many of us need to have a come to Jesus meeting with ourselves,
Absolutely.
right? But we know ourselves, we know the things that we can do and the things that we can't do. And if we can't be real with ourselves, because that was your real moment when you realized, and to go to the extent of, okay, I'm not going on vacation with the family. That's a serious awakening for yourself. And kudos to you, because it takes that type of drive and tenacity to say, okay, you can recognize that a change has to happen, but until you do something to actually cause that change to come about, we're just continuing to pursue.
Absolutely.
We're just continuing to spin our wheels.
Absolutely.
So that was very powerful. I was like, I was like, go ahead, Dr. Pamela. I was like, yes. And as you continued on, in the start of your book, after the introduction, you started out with your first chapter, which I feel like it's something that never grows old, because I think it's one of those areas where the enemy usually always tries to catch us with.
Absolutely.
And that is what comes out of our mouths.
Absolutely.
Because you can recognize all these components that it takes to succeed and to do this and go after that. But we are snared by the words of our mouth.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, and the Word of God also talks about how life and death, or death and life, are in the power of the tongue. And we reap what we say.
That's true.
And it's such a powerful source. And we can go all the way through the Bible and see where, what was spoken and how our words carry weight. I mean, we're made in the image and likeness of God, our Maker.
Absolutely.
And we see how His words created the world, created us, So we have to have that understanding of how powerful our words are,
Yes.
And so, another quote from out of your book is, it's imperative that you watch your words as you're transforming into a person of action with words, And so, so that's the jumping off point into that transformation, And so you had quite a few nuggets in that particular chapter about words.
Yes.
So why don't you share a little bit about why did you start that chapter with dealing with the words?
Yes, co-pastor. Yes. So basically, I really wanted the readers to really understand that you can sabotage your own destiny.
Right.
You really can, with our words. I know in our home, growing up with our children, we told them there's 2 words that were not allowed in the home. You couldn't say, I can't.
Wow.
I didn't want to hear, I can't.
Right.
Because we wanted to let them know, even as youngsters, that if you start framing those words now, I can't, then you will not even succeed in the little things.
Yeah.
The piano lessons, the karate lessons, things of that nature.
Right.
And so it's very important that we watch our words.
Yeah.
Because they do carry weight. I remember growing up, sticks and stones will break my bones.
Right.
But names never hurt me. That's a lie.
That's right.
Because names can hurt you, And then again, too, name can also help you as well.
Empower you.
I can do all things.
Right.
Begin to speak those words, watch those words.
Right. So it's a choice of whether we're going to set ourselves up for success before we get into moving into it for what we say. And it's so powerful. And I love that, how you set that as a precedence in your house, because it starts as a seed, the little things that we learn as we're being trained up as a child, we take it on into our adulthood. So if you grew up in a household where there's negativity and you didn't watch your words and, all of those things, and I love it. You cannot say, I can't in my household.
Yes,
That's the only time you can say I can't.
That's right. Absolutely. It was curse words.
Yeah,
it was curse words.
Right. That's so
It was
good.
a curse
so
words.
powerful.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sure that there's evidence even in their lives, even as an adults, to learn that principle of, what you say come out of your mouth, you should have it, and so certainly, we familiar with the word that says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he,
Yes.
but also talks about how we speak from out of the treasures of our heart,
Yes,
and
yes.
so, so it's not just those words that may be negative, it's what's on the inside of you that's giving you away.
Right. That's right.
That's really what you believe from your core, so that's very, very powerful. And so I appreciate, just setting that standard right away to know that whatever you endeavor to do, because we're talking about excuses
right.
come out as words.
That's
Whatever is
right.
in you, it will come out,
Absolutely.
And so, so that's very powerful. So I really appreciate that.
you.
Okay. Of course, when you're dealing with yourself, as I mentioned, we know ourselves better than anything,
Absolutely.
and we know our shortcomings. We know what we're capable of doing to a certain extent, because sometimes we can be so caught up on the negative that we don't necessarily allow ourselves to be able to explore or see or imagine what we're capable of doing.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
And so as you moved on, you talked about throwing away personal excuses. And I think this is something that all of us can identify with. And I think, it's always just as much you can be snared by your words, you can be snared by how we think about ourselves,
Absolutely.
And society is always putting us in a box, really, putting boundaries on us, telling you when you can get married. If you're single, well, you need to have this going on. You need to have that going on. If you're married, then it needs to be like this and be like that. And so there's all kinds of things that we have set in our minds that if I don't do it during this time, if I meet this time or miss this time frame, then it's done. If I'm this age or that age, it's just a trickery of the enemy.
That's right. That's right.
And I remember reading one part of your book that you talked about, because you have a very dynamic life, and certainly we don't want to be reading a book that's just information that you just gathered some resources. But this woman of God has actually experienced some hard things, some really difficult situations. So she's not writing has not written this book based on, it's a good idea. These are life experiences that she's learned from.
Oh, yes.
And so tell me a little bit about some of the things that you had to deal with on a personal level and how you had to deal with those excuses and come to terms with those.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Wow. So I've been coined this title, the no excuse person.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
I tell my clients, even those within my church, you can't really give me an excuse.
It's good.
You can't give me an excuse why you can't succeed. I've been there.
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah.
You can't give me the excuse regarding betrayal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Been there.
Right.
You can't give me an excuse regarding, the many hats we have to wear. Nowadays, I wore several hats at one time. My mother, I was her caregiver for 12 years, working in the government as a PM, my business, of course, the ministry, of course, family issues, what have you.
Right.
But nevertheless, going to school.
Right. All of this is all at the same time.
At the same time.
Not one at a time like we like to go, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. But I had every opportunity, co-pastor, to say, you know what? I got an excuse. So I can just lay back.
Yeah.
But to me, I refuse to let the situations, the personal tragedies, take me out like that, because I know who I am in God. Right. And so to me, those setbacks, some may say, were just stepping stones.
Yeah.
And like my faith was like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, God.
Yeah.
Come on, we can do this. We can do this. You know, notwithstanding, we're human now.
Right.
Notwithstanding that, I didn't shed those tears.
Right.
There was personal. But however, I had those tears, but I had that laptop.
Yeah. And kept going.
kept going, you know, kept ministering, I would see myself going to work in my best suits, you know, briefing generals, coming back home, taking care of business. You know, all in the midst of all chaos.
Yeah.
But understood that God does his best work in chaos.
Yeah.
If you're willing to partner with him.
Right.
You know, no excuse, Pam. Keep it moving.
That's good.
Keep it moving.
That's good. You know, you mentioned how, because you knew who you are.
Yes.
Who you are. And that's pivotal, because if you don't know who you are, then you don't know what you have.
My God.
You know?
Yes.
And so I think that was a very powerful thing, even throughout the fabric of your book. Yeah. You know, anything that you had to come against or go through or contend with, that plumb line was knowing who you are, and knowing that God's on your side.
Oh, yes.
And knowing that, okay, well, this is an excuse.
Oh, yes. It was valid.
Yeah. But what you had on the inside of you was greater than the excuse.
Absolutely,
you know, and so that's certainly a testament, you know. And as you talked in your chapter dealing with throwing away those personal excuses, you talked about, you know, different dynamics of those personal excuses, your age, you know, being single, you know, or being a single parent, being divorced, you know, some people use their youth, you know, I'm too young, you know, I'm not old enough, you know, I'm a widow, you know, being a caregiver, like you said, and those different things. And one of the things you talked about is support.
Yes.
And I think for me, I look in my life, you know, and I got a lot more to accomplish, but I can honestly say that the things that I've accomplished in this earth, I haven't done it by myself.
Oh, yes.
That's for sure.
That's right. Absolutely.
I've had some great support, whether it be family, whether it be church family, you know, friends, you know, and people mean a lot, you know. I mean, of course, you don't put all of your, you know, trust in people, you know, where they're your only source. No, but they are a source.
There you go. That's
and to recognize that as a perspective, you know, that we need people, you know, and we need each other. But there's one word that kind of connects to that. Okay. I want you to share that word. I think you know, you wrote about it. It starts with a P.
Okay. Oh, right? Yes. Oh, yes.
And so if you have that, then you can't really receive the support that you need. So tell us about this one thing that you need to nip in the bud and get it under control in order for you to be able to move forward, receive the support you need, you know, and throw away the personal excuses.
Yes. Well, that P word is pride.
Yeah.
Woo! Pride. That will kill, you know, you from moving forward, because, you know, you have so much pride and you feel like, you know, well, I don't want to bother him or her. You know, they have a lot on their plate, you know, and it's just not my time, whatever. And that pride snatches a lot of people from reaching their destiny. A young lady that I wrote about, not tell you the whole story, but, you know, single parent, you know, she had several children, and I was mentoring her along the way. And I would come sometime to her home, and it was just so dark in her home. And I'm like, where's the light at? You know, look at the light in the home. And trying to encourage her and what have you, and say, baby, you know, hey, we're here to help you. Yeah. But you have to ask for the help, you know? And once she finally, you know, was able to accept that it's okay to ask for help. To see her transformation was just wonderful. Wonderful, you know? But you have to ask for it. My husband was in the military. I was just getting started with my career path, an educational path. He was in Korea. And so I was working swinging shifts, co-pastor, day shift, mid shift, swing shift in the computer field. And I was going to school. And so how was I going to accomplish get my degree? Right. I had to ask for help. And so I thank God that I was able to say, you can't do it by yourself, young lady. You know, you're not superwoman all the time. Come on now. So I put that pride down. As a result of that, a young lady in my church was able to help keep the kids for me at night when I was in my night shift and go to school at daytime, whatever. And that helped me along my path, And so I'm so grateful that I didn't allow, what they're going to say about me. The stigmas, right?
Yeah. And this being in ministry, both of us co-pastor, with our husbands, sometimes you can be driven by a persona of that superwoman type of thing, But I had a dear friend that asked the question, because I was sharing with her some of my challenges with homeschooling and trying to get some things straight with that. And she says, well, what does that tell your people or your ladies that are following you, that, as far as you having that persona of trying to be so perfect, but you knowing, okay, well, I need to make that shift. I can't do it all in perspective.
That's
everything that God puts on your plate. Yeah, we know, we understand that. God empowers us to be able to do that. But there are things that we have to humble ourselves.
Absolutely.
We have to recognize, okay, as much as I would love to be able to do this by myself, because on the flip side of that, you can get so much help that it's easy, what I'm saying, to relinquish different things. But certain things I know for myself, I'll challenge myself just so I can make sure, I am putting in the skin, that's putting in, the work, for myself.
Yes,
but it's definitely something to think about when you're in leadership position and you're trying to have this persona that you're perfect, you do all things, but then you're really falling apart. You're stressed out. Your blood pressure's up.
That's right.
And you're trying to regulate different things, and and behind the scenes, it's chaos. But then when you get, it's like we can't do that.
No, ma'am.
And a lot of that is connected to pride.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, but it's good that you expose that, because definitely we need to ask for help.
Absolutely.
We need to reach out to people, because we are here for each other. If not, why did God create us as family units, as a structure of communities, neighbors, all of those types of relationships that God has set it up, where we're able to give and to take, to feed each other and to empower one another,
Ma'am. But then, ma'am, no harm. This is what they say too. Well, my excuse is nobody's there to help me.
Yeah.
That's the excuse.
Right.
Who's going to help me?
Right.
Where he has everyone here.
You just look around. Look around.
Yes, ma'am.
But it's the pride that keeps you from seeing that.
There you go. That's right.
But that's a powerful point, and I really appreciate you bringing that out. You are a very educated woman of God.
To God be the glory.
You have put in the work.
God be the glory.
And from what I understand, you're still pursuing, higher education, and not only in just institutional wise, as far as going back and schooling, and you've gotten your doctorate, but then even after you got your doctorate, you went back and got your second bachelor.
Yes, ma'am.
And but even beyond that, you have really shown that. Learning is not one of those things that's a one-shot deal.
Oh, no, ma'am.
That, that we should be able to take advantage of the ability to receive from the resources. It's just a wealth of resources. I mean, this day and time, there is really
excuse.
The excuses of you don't know.
That's right.
We can't go with that,
no,
right?
Ma'am,
When we grew up, we could say, if somebody asked us a question we didn't know, we could legitimately say, well, I don't know. But, these days it's like, well, why don't you know?
Absolutely.
Because you can go learn about it. You can go search it.
Absolutely.
Google it. You can ask somebody. So you have all kinds of ways.
That
but
is true.
I admire your drive to be relentless in learning, because the Word of God tells us to learn to do well.
That's right.
Again, that is not a one-shot deal. It's learn to do well. It's a continual state.
Ma'am.
We're ever growing, we're ever learning,
Absolutely.
And so why don't you tell us a little bit about your juggling, dealing with the doctrine? Tell us your journey, because I think a lot of times people, when they look at you and say, oh, you got your doctrine, they're thinking, oh, for you it's easy, but as I know, and that there's been some difficult times along the way. So tell us a little bit about your journey dealing with your doctrine and your education.
Yes, thank you. Yes. So it's imperative. Like you said, I love the gift of learning, and I love reading. I'm an avid reader as well. Awesome. So about 2.5 books I read a month. Awesome. But nevertheless, people leave clues about their lives. And so when we see people who we admire, just know that it didn't happen overnight.
Right.
And some people had to, really, really, really achieve success in some of the most horrible conditions in their lives. Yeah. And I'm one of those persons. So basically, with me, again, like I said before, I was working swing shifts and midnight shifts and day shifts, what have you. My husband was in Korea, so I was like a single parent, sort of, right? Yeah. But just trying to pursue my education goals, right? At the associate level first. And so, of course, too, we want to say that, who's going to pay for it? Well, when you put in the good work and when you put forth an effort, right, you will have the resources. Yeah. And so I wanted to ensure that, I put in the study habits. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so because of that, I ended up getting scholarships.
Look at you.
So I got scholarships to help along the way as well, too, because I put in the work to do it. And I had to do also cash. So that means that there were some things I had to say no to in order, because I didn't want any debt, right? And so as a result of that, I began to see myself. I wanted to see myself cross that stage, to say, wow, I did it. Because why? It wasn't really about me crossing that stage. It's about so many others that, that prayed for me, my family legacy, rooting me on. And because I was able to manifest from the associate level to the doctoral. And with the doctorate as well, that was to me mind-blowing. I mean, I can't to this day, I was telling God today, how in the world, God, did we do that? And graduate with summa cum laude.
Come on now.
I'm like, how did we do that?
Thank you, Lottie.
But yes.
But summa.
Yeah, with all of that, all of the pressures, the different hats that I had to wear, and it's just, I look back and say, God, I thank you. But again, we have to also partner up with God.
That's good.
And put in the work. Put in the work. I always say this, that we all have the same amount of time, people. Yeah. We all have 24 hours a day.
That's right.
It all depends on how we're going to utilize that time.
That's good.
I'm very big on cheering people on. Go, 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 go. Yeah. But at some point, when you're going to cheer your own self on.
That's right.
I don't watch a lot of television. I don't watch a lot of stuff. I mean, I can say that's good for them, but how about when is your time?
Yeah.
And so the result of that, just really putting the hard work in, looking out for, the resources that I could get based on the scholarships, and just saying, no excuse.
Right.
No excuse. Right. It's time to study. Tell my girlfriends, nope, can't go with you this time. Right. Can't do this, can't do that. Because why? I got to put my head in the books. I got to study to show myself approved.
Right.
And as a result of that, that doctoral gala was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I was able to have my gospel artist that I love so long, Helen Baylor.
Yeah,
she came as well. As a result of what? Manifestation.
Right. And what blessed me is that you talked about how you were planning that gala before you got your doctorate.
That's true.
And that's powerful.
That's vision. That was vision.
That is very powerful.
Yes, ma'am.
So, sometimes we're waiting until, and what propelled you to get that doctorate is to do something like that,
yes,
that it was like, okay, now you better go get it. And you invited all these
Absolutely.
people. You better finish strong.
That's right. Absolutely.
But that's awesome,
yes,
how,
ma'am.
That definitely eliminated the excuses, because I'm sure that towards the end it got even tougher to a certain extent where, that's where sometimes, unfortunately, people give in, right when they get to that place of accomplishing, because there's so many different things to discourage them, And so that was powerful.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
And I so appreciated the fact that you did a chapter dealing with health excuses.
Yes, our health excuses.
Yes. And for me, I was athletic, and growing up in school. So I kind of have that athletic thing about me. And just as I fell off and the whole saga, got back in, fell off, got back in, the latter years just being more determined to get rid of those excuses.
Yes, ma'am.
And one of the things that, for me, my personal thing that I grabbed a hold of is that I cannot talk negative while I'm working out. Because, sometimes we just think, oh, that's just blowing off steam or just kind of, working where you're saying, oh, this is hard. I'm tired, or you're grunting and you're moaning because you're in agony. It's like, and for me, I mentally made that resolve in my spirit. I'm not going to do that because to me, it was really being counterproductive. That if I'm trying to accomplish something, then I can't fool myself to think that if I'm going to be negative, I don't feel like working out, I don't want to, oh, I hate it. It's just, all of that is stuff that works against it,
It's true.
But, dealing with that health thing, it definitely takes being committed to it. And that's one of the things you talked about is making that resolve in your spirit.
That's right.
To be committed to what you're going to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so talk a little bit about your journey. I know one of your stories dealing with your deliverance from Twizzlers.
Oh, yes. So that's a cute story. Yes. So she's referring to the fact, co-pastors, that every year our church goes on a 40-day fast during Lent season.
Yeah.
And so, we give up all the sugars and the fattening foods and things of that nature. Yeah. And we eat healthy, just baked foods, baked chicken, lettuce, all the veggies, right? All that good stuff and fruits and water and no carbohydrates, just very, very healthy eating. Nevertheless, so on the fast, okay, so you go through your withdrawals. You always do, right? The first 3 days. And then about that fourth and fifth days, you're pretty good in the groove, So you're eating right and you're drinking your water and what have you. So after the fast, what did I do? I ran to get my Twizzlers. Yes, my savior. And I went to bite my Twizzler, and lo and behold, it tasted like it was some type of crayon in my mouth. And it was like, wow, I could not even enjoy my famous beloved Twizzlers. And so what? I was delivered from Twizzlers, you all. Because what you do 21 days or more becomes a habit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, and then I must admit though, I did try again a couple of weeks to make sure I was really delivered.
Just to secure,
just to make
right?
sure, right? And guess what? No more Twizzlers. I passed the test. So what that showed me? That showed me that what you can do, whatever you want to do when it comes to eating healthy, right? Making sure our bodies, I'm a vet, so, we had the 2-mile run and, the sit-ups and the push-up going on and what have you, And one time I was really gung-ho on my regimen to lose the weight and what have you. And so here I am eating right and, exercising. My little dog and I go on little walks and what have you. Yeah. And my husband is sitting back. He's eating what he wants to eat, chilling. And I made him my excuse that day because I got off my regimen. But then I had to get back on to say, hey, baby, this is for you, right?
Yeah,
this is my personal health journey. Right, so also, you all know, some people may have in your family, different health challenges, in your family legacy. We were very, we had diabetics in our family, we had a lot of people who were on high blood pressure pills and medicine and stuff. And so I'm like, hey, wait a minute, they always ask you, what's your family history, right? And so I'm just determined. Am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect. Yeah. But I'm determined to just keep moving.
Yeah.
You know, I'm determined to keep eating the right things.
Yeah. Because far too often we use that excuse of family history. But one of the things our spiritual father said, Apostle Thompson, he talks about, okay, if you're eating the same thing that your mother ate and your grandma ate, of course, it's going to pass down whatever consequences comes from eating that.
Absolutely.
And that was very thought-provoking. So to me, that's, one of the things that, it runs in my family and all that, but I'm like, I'm not going to fall prey to it.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to use it as an excuse,
That's right.
And so that's an adjustment. I can't just in my mind say, okay, that's my resolve. But in actuality, that's what I had to really kick in and say, okay, you got to do what you got to do so that won't be a reality in your life. So it won't be your testimony, which is, of course, doesn't give any glory to God.
That's right.
And so, but that's very powerful. But I also remember reading in your book where you talked about there are people who do deal with, various illnesses and things like that. And one of the things that kind of stood out was you mentioned about a gentleman named Randy Posh. I believe that's his name.
Yes.
How he had a terminal illness and he was very young.
Yes.
And how he, his life testimony was throwing away the excuses and setting up a legacy for his daughters. Yes. And I actually remember reading that book.
Last lecture.
Last lecture. Yes. And it was very, very powerful. So much so that I had to pass it on to, at the time, my youngest son, who was like probably around 8 or 10.
Oh, yeah.
And literally a couple of years ago, he brought that book up and said, do you remember when you got me to read this book? And, he said it really helped me to switch my perspective about life and different things like that. I was like, oh, wow. I had to go back and review it. And I was like, yeah. But it's very powerful. But speak a little bit about illnesses and things like that, because we definitely know it happens. Sometimes there are things that may be beyond your control to a certain extent. But speak to that a little bit. And how does that relate to dealing with excuses and things like that?
Yes, it does, because if we're not careful, we'll just live life, I would say, just live it like pretty much in the headlights of, fogginess of life, And one thing for certain is that we all are going to pass this life one way or the other, right? But how do we lead this life? Our dignity. Our dignity, right? Yeah. And so with me, my own personal example is the fact that with my mom, I couldn't imagine co-pastor. I was like, wow, when she gave birth to me, she was there, I was there, and she saw me take my first breath. And then here I was with her back in May, and was there in the room with her as she took her last breath. But just watching, just how with the illnesses, how I was just determined that I was not going to let my mom, even give me an excuse, even to the end. Even to the end. And my husband had a video of us the day before, and I'm just with my mother telling her, okay, Mom, let's go. Come on, let's praise God. Let's go ahead and get out of the, exercising today, just going forth, because why? Even as we transition, we can still give glory to God. We can still, begin to even leave a legacy back. And one word she told me was, Pam, I want you to live. I want you to live, And so as a result of that, I'm like, okay, we're going to live. We're going to live. We're going to live to give God the glory. But even in illnesses, there's really no excuse. Because you can yet still be productive some way.
That's right.
You can be productive, whereas where you can be a blessing. My mom, and I had the nurses coming to my home, and how they were just so in awe to say, wow, we don't see much of this. But even giving God the glory in that. They didn't see much of folks, taking care of their parents and, having her upbeat and having the aroma in my home with the praise music and things and just want to glorify God, even in, no excuse to have it doom and gloom in my home. No excuse. Even in illnesses, no excuse.
Excuses really deplete you.
Oh, yes.
It's not just that it gives you a way of escape, so we think, but it really depletes you of more than what meets the eye. And so, so that's, that's very powerful to see even, in your dealing with your mom. I mean, certainly there were many excuses, I'm sure, from your side and her side too, but to have someone that has such a force of, I'm not going down with an excuse, really empowered her to probably, because I can remember with my mom, I wasn't her caregiver, my sister was, but she would come every now and then and stay with us for a weekend. And I can just remember the atmosphere that she would be in our home. Not to say that my sister's atmosphere was bad, but I just saw how, just having that upbeat atmosphere firsthand, changed her. And I remember her, she couldn't walk. She was in wheelchair bound. And, but she was sitting in a lounge chair and she had her legs crossed. And she said, if the Lord gave me an opportunity, and she's around 80, she was 84 or something like that.
Okay.
If the Lord give me an opportunity to get married again, I would love to get married. I looked at her, I was like, okay, Mom, okay, you can do that.
No, that's right. That's right.
But again, like I said, when that excuses, it depletes you of so much, even the ability to dream.
Yeah.
And another thing that I saw throughout the fabric of your book is where you said, I see myself. I see myself. When you talk about your first trip to Paris, I see myself, already before I even got to Paris, looking at the Eiffel Tower. And you talked about it throughout your book, how you saw yourself doing things. That's a part of our imagination.
Absolutely.
And when you have excuses, it strips you of your imagination because your imagination taps into your faith.
Absolutely.
Come on,
you got
it. Your faith helps you to propel you to do what you can't do in and of yourself.
That's right.
And so it's just powerful to get that understanding, and so you, throughout your whole book, you're talking about all these different things that we can use as excuses, and we haven't covered everything. There's a whole lot in it. We purposely did that because I was like, I want to make sure that you are hungry enough to want to get her book. But it's all centered around reaching towards your dreams, your goals, which it should be a part of us. Because that's how God created us. God framed the worlds based on what he saw in himself.
That's right.
And there are dreams that God has about us, and he places them in each of us as individuals, and he leaves it up to us to incubate those dreams, to be able to walk them out and bring them to pass. So if you're not able to see the vision, then to imagine those dreams, then really, it's again connected to faith. And what does Hebrews 11:6 say? That without faith it's impossible to please God, Right. Yeah. And so, but I saw, like I said, some things firsthand, and I know there's many things, that I kind of got a little bit more glimpse of through your book, of your mantra for life, and how learning to get rid of the excuses, and even, being around family and people, even though they can be a blessing to you, sometimes they can deplete you too, and discourage you. You talked about your travels, and you're a world traveler. You've been to many different places, been to mission trips, but also traveled through the service, right? And then others with just dream trips that you've taken, and certainly there's been times when it wasn't the most ideal or it looked like the most ideal situations. And even though you didn't go into those trips blindly, still, I feel like anytime you get in a car or get into anything, you need to do it by faith.
Absolutely.
It's just as dangerous to get in a car and go drive than it is to get on a plane and go across the ocean to another country.
Absolutely.
But you talked about how you still took away the excuses, because sometimes fear of what could happen can be a major excuse for us.
That's so
Talk
true.
a little bit about that.
That's so true, yes. And so you mentioned as well, too, the fact of my travels. And so, believe it or not, I've traveled more outside the military. Okay, so as a civilian, I traveled more.
That's awesome.
Yes, But and so even with that, God gave me these gifting. He gave it to me. So he gave me the dream, and the dream big, and you too. He gave us all these.
Come on now.
Right?
Yes.
And so how dare I dumb it down for somebody else?
Come on. Can you say that again?
Okay. How dare we dumb down our dreams and our goals because somebody else don't agree with it?
Come on.
I was in the midst of a very tragic event in my family. And people were like, and I had on my schedule to be in Kenya. Mm-hmm. And so people were like, "You're not going to Kenya, are you?" I said, "Why not?" Mm-hmm. I said, that tragedy happened, but on my agenda and God's agenda, we're scheduled to go to Kenya on a mission field. I went with Pastor Dangerfield, and
right,
and so I'm like, I'm going. And so you could have imagined, right?
Yeah.
What kind of So we heard all the little backdrafts, but I began to say, wait a minute, whose dream and goals is it anyway?
Right.
It's not theirs.
Yeah.
Went over there, and I tell you, God got the glory. Awesome. Able to serve those precious people.
Wow.
And I told Pastor Julian, "Sir, I'm not a pastor, please. I'm just Pam. Let me do the trash. Let me do whatever I have to do. Please don't let me do anything else. Okay, I'm here to serve. Mm-hmm. And one day he calls me, "Nope, you have to minister." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not coming to Joe."
How'd you think you're going to get on?
But nevertheless, God even used me in that.
Yeah, awesome.
To serve babies, to serve in the midst of what I had to go through, to serve so many, because why? I would have aborted that mission because of somebody else's mouth on me to say, "Why should she go there when all hell is all around her and her family situation?"
Yeah.
But I threw away that excuse. You hear me?
Yeah.
And I kept moving forward to do what? To bless somebody else. Yeah. It's bigger than us.
That's powerful. And if you, maybe one day she'll get an opportunity to share, the tragedy that she really had to experience in the midst of just so many other things too. So this dynamic woman of God, and I really appreciate your strength and I definitely your source is God.
Yes, ma'am.
But to deal with the naysayers, it takes a lot of strength in God, confidence in God, to make up your mind that, okay, who am I living for?
Yes.
Because, people will spend your money.
Oh, come on now.
they figure they know what you got and what you should be buying, what you shouldn't be buying, what you should be doing, where you should be, where you shouldn't be, when you should go, when you shouldn't go, how you should react.
Yeah, come on.
Whose life are you living?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so I say, and you said it even in your book, you don't ever give the power of your destiny over to anyone.
No, ma'am.
God has given that to us to steward as we are connected to Him, for Him to lead us, to guide us, to direct us, and for us to please Him, not man. And so sometimes it may come across as something very negative towards family, but again, you have to answer to God.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In the end, and that's what matters.
That is so key.
But you ended with a testimony from this gentleman that you met in the midst of you dealing with working with your mom and caring for her. And it was just powerful. So maybe you can give it a little snippet, because it just kind of encapsulated, how this person dealt with this, almost all the different excuses that you talk about throwing away. But yet still he rose through the adversity that he dealt with. Can you share a little bit about John?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So in the midst of my mother in the hospital, back and forth, months on, months, there was a nurse. And so I was telling John, I was in the room with my mom in the hospital with my laptop doing the manuscript. And so I would share with him the book title, what have you. He said, "That's a powerful, powerful title." Yeah, because I had some rough times. So, tell me about it, John. And John began to tell me. He was a vet, and John actually left the military and got out the military. Well, not on his own, because the military was downsizing. And so his specialty was no longer needed right now in the military. And so as a result, he was forced to get out the military. And so he got out the military. And as a result of that, couldn't get a job, co-pastor. As a result of that, his wife left them. It's kind of a sad story, right? So his wife left them, then he lost his home, and he found himself homeless. one of his buddies found out about him being homeless and invited him into his home. And John was like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I can't live like this. I'm done.
Right.
So John decided, you know what? He's gone. I'm at work, his buddy. I'm going to go ahead and just kill myself because he had a revolver. He said, but God, if you're real, show up, God.
That one prayer before.
That one prayer, right? Before I kill myself, right?
Yeah.
So John's watching television and his friend's dog comes in the room, and for some reason he can't even understand it, but the dog apparently touched the remote, and a commercial came on about EPI and nursing and what have you. And so it's like, he's reading about this story about, okay, becoming a nurse. Okay, let me just see. So he called the number, lo and behold, that the ECPI in Richmond was like a mile and a half from where he was living.
Mm-hmm.
So he walked there that Friday and took the test. And he said, okay, man, what's next? She said, well, you can start on Monday. Start on Monday for what? To be in the training class, for the nurse program. He said, are you serious? And matter of fact, we're going to also pay you a stipend.
Wow.
And as a result of that, the first class he went to, he sat next to a beautiful young lady that became his wife.
Wow.
And so he ends up being my mother's nurse,
mm-hmm.
serving in excellence.
Wow.
And I'm like, John, can I please share your story? Because he had I'm getting emotional now, but he had every opportunity to say, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Lost everything.
Right.
But I said, John, look at you. God had you appointed for this time to take care of my mom in excellence. I applauded him too. I said, thank you so much for your service.
Awesome. That is.
But if you would have snatched your life out, John, my mother and myself would have not experienced that.
Yeah.
So you threw away little excuses.
Yes.
And you succeeded, became an RN, and you're doing wonderful.
Wow.
So it's just, we all have so much in us. Don't you dare let anybody.
That's right.
Anybody destroy your destiny. Not even you.
That's right.
Don't you do it. Don't do it. All the excuses, throw them away now.
Yeah.
Throw them away.
Yes.
Because somebody's waiting on you to manifest.
Yes.
My mantra is excuses don't manifest results.
That's good.
Don't do it.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So powerful, Dr. Pam. Just how your excuses, you think it's just affecting you. It's just relieving you from whatever you don't want to, go through. But it always affects somebody else.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's a prime example of how it's life-changing to other people. And so our time has come to a close. Dr. Pam, you have just been phenomenal. You are a phenomenal woman.
Thank you,
and I believe you said your last words to them. That was very powerful.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. And so we want to encourage you to get a hold of the book. The information is, within the podcast credits. And so, Dr. Pamela, tell us a little bit about how to get a hold of Throw Away the Excuses and Succeed, subtitle Ignite Your Dreams and Goals.
Yes,
all right?
ma'am.
Tell us how we can get a hold of this.
Yeah, for signed copies, simply go to PamelaJDowning.com, my namesake, for the signed copies, or Amazon as well. Yeah, so thank you, co-pastor. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Well, I know that this podcast has been a blessing to you. So I want to encourage you to share this, like it, all right? And leave a comment of how, how it has been a blessing to you. And then also what I want to encourage you to do is once you get a hold of the book, let me know you got it, right? This is some good reading. She's got so many good nuggets. We just scratched the surface of some of the things she shared. And I also got some proof in there, some places, that she has documented that some experiences that she's had to go right along with her testimony. And so once again, thank you so much, Dr. Pamela. And so you be blessed.
This has been another episode of Changing Lives. Be sure to subscribe to stay updated on new episodes. Also, find us on the web at mountgileadfgim.org and follow us on Instagram at mountgileadfgim.